All right, y'all. AM, FM, Radio Free, Go-Go.
Good morning, DC. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for a fresh episode of the Capitol Hoop Caucus. I'm Wardell McCabe, and I'm joined, as always, by my two co-hosts, Troy Halliburton and Isaac Harris. And I'm sure they are asking the very same question that you all at home are asking, which is, how in the world are we listening to the Caucus on a Wednesday? Well, that's because the show is growing. We're very excited for this. Every Wednesday morning from here on, you can expect a very brand new episode of the Capitol Hoop Caucus populating in your favorite podcasting platform streams just before you head off to work. And don't worry, do not stress, because our regular Saturday morning show will still be there. It's not going anywhere. Our goal with this midweek Wizards-based show is to check in to basically allow for our episodes to be a little bit shorter, a little bit more concise, a little bit more trimmed, all killer, no filler. So it should make it a little bit more accessible for you all while you're listening to and from work or wherever it is that you're trying to get through when you're listening to your podcast. And just in order for us to do so, we'll be dedicating some of our segments that you've actually grown accustomed to. They'll be specifically slotted into the Wednesday show, and some others will be slotted into our Saturday show. Some of them on Wednesday will include a segment like the Scouting Report, which we have on today's episode as well, and then a brand new bi-weekly listener mailbag that we'll be checking in with you all and having your questions and answering them at the midway point of every other week. So these episodes, as I said, they're going to be exclusive to the podcast feed. They're not going to be on radio. So if you are a Capitol Hoop Caucus junkie like yourselves listening right now, then you can expect them there. And they will not be on the radio. It's just exclusive to the podcast feed and on YouTube. That's, again, we can actually wave to everyone here. You can see that we're also all in our own private locations, not in the studio. That's because it's going to make it a little bit easier for us to record when it is that we need to. But we are actually putting out new content for you all. So we're really excited for this. And it's also just to note, as you may have heard last Friday night, there's another program that we have in the works, and that's starting this upcoming week. We'll have a college focus show every Monday. That means that every week we'll be publishing 3 new episodes of the Capitol Hoop Caucus, one on Monday mornings, one Wednesday mornings, and one Saturday mornings for all the best insights on the hoops action in the DMV. Preps to pros, as our man Troy likes to say. We will cover it all, and we'll have it right here on these feeds. So I just have one question to ask for my two co-hosts right now. Gentlemen, are you both ready to get this show started?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Hey, man, born ready. I love it. As an economics major in college, this is what we like to call scaling up.
Absolutely, we are. And let's get on to today's show, because as I said, we'll have a scouting report on the Wizards. That will be something that's recurring every week. But first, we have to talk about the Wizards games that have been played since the last time we checked in with you all. And there was a 116-131 loss against the Hawks on Saturday, December 6th. And look, we have a lot of discussion on the game itself, but there were some significant absences in this game that we have got to talk about, and not just the ever-growing injury list, which now includes Bilal Coulibaly, Trey Johnson, Corey Kispert, Alex Sarr, and now Chris Middleton, but a fairly significant statement was made by a DNP coach decision of Cam Whitmore. And many of you online probably took notice that Whitmore wasn't playing in this game, which prompted Varun Shankar of the Washington Post to ask of the DNP to coach Brian Keefe after the game, to which Brian Keefe responded, "We have certain standards that we have for this team. He has to live up to those on the better, and he'll have a chance here, but that's going to be up to him for when that time comes." Varun then followed up by asking what standards weren't met, to which Keefe replied, "That's the stuff we talk about internally, so it's more stuff we saw in the game, but I don't have anything more to comment on that." And whoo, goodness, do I wish that was the end of it, but it unfortunately was not, because on Monday, December 8th, Grant Afseth of RG reported that Whitmore's role within the team may be shrinking due to the team's concerns about his practice habits and day-to-day work. Here's an excerpt from that report, which read, Inside the organization, the concern has been the day-to-day work. Amid a 3-19 start to the season, Washington has emphasized establishing firm practice habits and a consistent approach across its young roster, and Whitmore has not consistently met those expectations. Elsewhere, an Assets report, he quoted a source which told RG, "If you're trying to establish yourself in the NBA, you need to show up to practice." And man, this quote, I'd have to say, is a pretty stinging quote. It's one which suggests that Whitmore has skipped a practice, which is something our very own Troy Halliburton has actually done some further digging into. Isn't that right, Troy?
Yeah, of course. So, shout out to Varun for asking that question in the initial post-game press conference. And this is what we call snowball journalism. And so what ends up happening is you get one nugget, and that leads to another nugget, and that leads to another nugget. And what ended up happening was what I was already planning on writing on this situation coming into Monday afternoon. But when I saw the report from Grant Abseth that said that more specifically, when I saw him say that Cam Whitmore had an unexcused absence to a practice, then I said, well, Grant Abseth is 2,000 miles away. I'm actually here in D.C. Let me put my boots on the ground and see if I can make some phone calls and see if I can go and figure out if this report is accurate. And you know what? I went around and I talked to some sources of people that were in the building, and I got a lot of information on Cam Whitmore, a lot of things that were said about him and his experience with the Washington Wizards. But nobody mentioned any missed practices. And so that led me to, dig a little bit further. And so I ended up messaging a member of the Wizards PR staff, and they got back to me immediately and let me know that was completely false and that Cam had an excused absence due to illness. And so, what I really don't like in today's media landscape is the fact that, a lot don't care who tell it. And a lot can travel halfway around the world before there are people who actually have their boots on the ground who can go and talk to people in the building, talk to the Wizards PR staff, talk to people and actually get the complete, accurate story of what transpired. And so, I really feel bad for Cam Whitmore because this is a guy who already has a bad reputation for, things that happened at Villanova and things that, apparently happened with the Houston Rockets. This is a guy who already has, a negative connotation around him as, it comes to his professionalism. And so he doesn't need any more extra sauce added onto, with the things that he's already done. And so I thought it to be very prudent and to have journalistic integrity to go out and find out the truth. And apparently, that report was inaccurate, that Cam did not miss a practice and that, he has, some struggles, things that are going on with him on and off the court, but nothing that I feel like the Wizards felt like have reached a level that deserve to be penalized or fined by the team, that he was really benched for strictly on-court basketball reasons.
Right, and I think what's interesting to note here, as Troy, you pointed out, this is a player who does have a bit of baggage carrying over and stories that have lingered from his past teams that he played for, both professionally and in college. And unfortunately, because so many people were quick to react from this initial report, you saw a lot of Rockets fans coming out of the woodwork, and they felt validated for all the criticism that they've had for Cam. And there were a lot of other people who are Wizards fans who have been very critical of Cam to this point, and they were also bagging on as well. For them, it seemed like a green light. They can unload every take that they've had on Cam. Everything that they've said is completely true without actually vetting whether or not the report itself was true, which is a very dangerous game to be playing, not just from a journalistic perspective, but also for the player himself. I mean, that, as he said, it's going to have a negative impact on his own internal psyche. Now, Isaac, I do have this question for you. How, as a player, are you able to try to parse through these negative comments and these candidly negative lies that are circling around you? How are you able to? How would you be able to trudge through that?
I think the biggest thing when it comes to a situation like this is you look at it and take it as water, almost like you just kind of don't let it affect you. But because this is the situation that Cam already has a reputation, the only safest bet is to try to clear the air and have your PR team hopefully protect you, and you build that relationship to where they want to protect you. And it seems like there is a relationship to where the Wizards like, no, he's our guy. Like, this is not true. They're willing to come right out. If they didn't say anything initially, if no one said anything and they just kind of let the report kind of run rapid, like, all right, that's plausible deniability that it's more than likely true. And especially with people like Troy are asking and people are saying, or if they didn't respond to Troy, people like Troy or anyone on the boots on the ground, and they responded saying nothing, then that's more of a red flag than anything. But the fact that the Wizards came out, this is exactly what's going to happen with a player that they actually trust, at least for the most part. But that's not with regarding the fact that there is possible issues between Cam and the relationship with the organization.
Yeah, and Isaac, you brought up a very valid point, and like I said, I've been very critical of the Wizards PR in the last few weeks, but I very much have to give them a lot of credit right here for stepping up and kind of, you know, putting the water on this fire before it actually started spreading. Like, you know, they got back to me very quickly and to let me know that, you know, that was false, and, you know, he had an excused absence, and, you know, I think that, you know, they were very sincere with their response and, you know, how they handled it, not only as, you know, with their messaging with me, but with, you know, they sent out an actual PR release to, you know, a lot of the journalists. So, you know, I think that they took this very seriously and they went out of their way to protect their player. And I think that, you know, that they should be commended for that.
They absolutely should. And, you know, that, as you said, they still gave a valid reason for why it is that he was DNP'd, right? By saying it really was on-court things. So that is really what should be the topic of discussion for this story. It's not these things that have just completely been reported and run with. It was legitimately for basketball reasons. So let's shift the focus there for this show. Troy, what have you been seeing from Cam, at least in his most recent stretch of games, that you think would validate why it is that he was DNP'd in this most recent game?
Well, it's got to do with effort. We have to start there. And so the biggest thing for me, I know, like, as you know, athletes, like that next day film session is such a critical, you know, evaluation and teaching moment for the coaching staff. And so with Cam Whitmore being the most athletic man on the floor, him having multiple situations where he did not box out, where he did not jump for the rebound, like, I knew that was just not going to go well over on anybody's coaching staff, you know, let alone a team that's 3-19 and trying to build culture with winning basketball habits. And so, you know, I thought that the tape that he put out against the Boston Celtics in that second half, you know, like that the tape exists, but I'm sure that Cam Whitmore would like for it to be burned. So, you know, and I think that those basketball reasons, you know, more so have to do with anything as to why they decided to go with Will Riley in that spot. And, you know, shout out to Will Riley for, you know, kind of seizing his opportunities too, because, you know, if he's not playing well, then, you know, that maybe they don't have somebody to turn to, and they still have to go with Cam Whitmore. But, you know, I think that what the biggest thing that I will take away from this story is the fact that this isn't the end of Cam Whitmore's story with the Washington Wizards. You know, they traded a second round pick for him, and yes, it wasn't a lot of draft capital, but they did make an investment in him. And so they have, you know, they definitely have stake in the game and trying to make sure that he is successful. And so with more sourcing, more information that the Wizards had practice today, and, you know, I heard from a source that Cam Whitmore and Brian Keefe were working together one-on-one on the basketball court today. So that lets you know that, you know, the relationship that he has with his coach is still very strong. They still believe in him as a basketball player. And this isn't the last that we will hear of Cam Whitmore as a Washington Wizard.
Well, you certainly hope not. And as you pointed out there in this Hawks game, Will Riley saw a significant chunk of those minutes. And we were criticizing in our most recent episode, as many have been, that the team had preached the earn the minutes mentality, but it really wasn't exemplifying that. But that game for Will Riley was certainly proof of it, right? That opening came through, and Riley was someone who has been on somewhat of a hot hand as of late, and he get those minutes, and he excelled in them, and that is proof enough. You'd hope for Cam to see, like, okay, I can earn my spot here. I can earn these. It's just I have to put that extra effort in. And to hear that report from you that he was getting this one-on-one time with Keefe is certainly great to hear. Isaac, as someone who was a former player, what do those one-on-one sessions with a coach look like?
They build continuity and trust that your coach gets to really see who you are. The old phrase that comes on when in the basketball world, whether you're a pro, whether you're a college player or a high school player, is the way a man plays basketball is the way you know how he lives. There's a reason why, like, Joe Mazzulla had a pickup game with all the media, so you can understand how hard he coaches. So for Brian Keefe to take out time of his day, do a one-on-one, like an old school college practice between everybody, between him and Cam, and like just to see what Cam's tendencies are, just the little things, just little tiny things. Like I remember when I was a manager with at West Virginia, one of the big things that I saw with one of the coaches that used to work out Javon Carter, they noticed Javon doesn't like to take any breathing pauses. And when he doesn't do that, he starts missing like his third or fourth shot in a rep. And then you figure that out. It's like you tell him, hey, breathe, or it's like chill for a second, take a little break, and try to get back into rhythm. That helps them build that trust and continuity. Say, hey, I've seen what you put in the work in to do. So that's what it kind of showed.
Okay, well, now, as I said, we do actually have to get to the game itself, the loss against the Hawks. Troy, what else did you see in this game?
Man, I saw that Jalen Johnson. It looks like the real deal. That's the first thing that I noticed. He came out here. First of all, he played. They played on the second night of a back-to-back, and he had 2 straight triple doubles. So shout out to Jalen Johnson, who's probably going to make his first All-Star nod. I think that what I saw was the Wizards really suffering from a severe talent deficit. The fact that the Hawks are playing without Trae Young, and they're still missing some guys on their team, and they came in and on the second night of a back-to-back and handled business against the Wizards. And so I think that the Wizards really have to go back to the drawing board and try to figure out. To me, I think that the biggest thing that we've learned about the Wizards over the quarter mark of the season is that we don't know anything. And so I think that they need to go to the drawing board and try to figure out at least some type of identity for the team, and then just try to build on that. So, I really do think that, that the team is trying to anchor down defensively, is why they're giving minutes to guys like a Jameer Watkins. I think that they really need to try to figure out whatever it is, an identity that they want to have, and then try to focus on that in increments throughout the season and 10-game stretches.
Well, it's certainly a great assessment to have. Isaac, as Troy said, we're just past the first quarter mark of the season. What are you hoping to see from this team in this next quarter of the season?
A little more defensive continuity and effort, trying to stay consistent in that realm to where they don't stay down and they keep playing up. And it's like kind of every play is a next play situation. You've seen at times that everyone's kind of given off their effort where they give up very easily when they're down by like 15 or 20. That's the biggest thing I kind of want to see that growth. And I want to see the more growth into some of the draft picks. Will Riley's really coming to his own. So I hate to say this, I actually really want to see where he progresses in the next half of the year, because I was this last stretch of games, man. It's like I think they have something very, very special in him.
And to add on to that, Isaac, but I know that a lot of when I talk to my sources in the building, a lot of the stuff had to do with Cam Whitmore. But the buzz that is building around Will Riley is palpable, and they are really intrigued by all the possibilities of things that he can do. And so I would not be surprised if the Wizards really kind of let him off the leash and give him more and more opportunities as the season goes along.
Oh, the next Will Riley era could be in the next quarter mark of the season. But we're going to wrap this segment up here. But before we go anywhere, we've got a very, very quick game for our hosts. It's time to bring back Where They've Been, the only game where our hosts have to guess a player's identity based upon where they have been. We'll have 3 rounds of mystery players, and our hosts will each take turns trying to guess who this mystery player is. When it's each host's turn, they can ask me a question to try to better narrow down the player's identity. A quick note is that each of these players are actively on teams that the Wizards have played against in the past 3 games. Are you both ready to guess these players based on where they've been?
Yes.
Born ready like Lance Stevenson.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and share this screen now. This first player from west to east has played for the Golden State Warriors, Santa Cruz Warriors, Raptors 905, Toronto Raptors, and Boston Celtics. Troy, you can either take a guess here or ask me a question on who this is.
Okay, let's see. Raptors 905. That's what's throwing me off. Oh, actually, I think I know who this is.
Who do you think it is?
Is that Chris Boucher?
It is Chris Boucher on the very first guess. Yeah. Doesn't even give Isaac the chance.
I was just about to say Chris Boucher because that's the only person I know.
I'm a beast.
All right, Isaac, let's see if you can balance it out. This next player from west to east has played for the LA Clippers, Memphis Grizzlies, Grand Rapids Drive, Detroit Pistons, and Atlanta Hawks. You can either take your guess or ask me a question.
It's not Terrence, man. I'll ask a question real quick.
What's the question?
Was he in Atlanta recently?
He is in Atlanta right now. All right,
Oh.
Troy, you can either ask a question or make a guess.
Man, I see him in my sleep. Wizards killer Luke Kennard.
It is the Kennard. Hey, 2-0 for Troy. First guess is on both. Let's go back to Troy for round 3. And from west to east, this player has played for the LA Clippers twice, the Phoenix Suns, Houston Rockets, New Orleans Hornets, and New Orleans Pelicans, and Philadelphia 76ers. Troy, do you want to ask a question or take a guess?
No, I know who that is.
Who is it?
It's Eric Gordon.
It is Eric Gordon for the clean sweep. Not even given a chance to breathe. There we go. 3-0 for Troy. He swept it this time. Let's see if Isaac can have a chance the next time we bring this game back. But let's take our first break here. The next time you hear our voices, it'll mean that you'll be hearing this week's scouting report. Good morning and welcome back into the Capital Hoop Caucus. Alongside Isaac Harrison and Troy Halliburton, I am Wardell McCabe. We mentioned earlier that the scouting report will permanently be moving into the Wednesday show. And for those who do not know what that is, it's when our hosts each provide their thoughts on whether a player's stock has risen, fallen, or remained the same since the last time we checked in on these players. And just a quick note, at the end of these, we will be awarding points to the guest host who provides the best and most poignant points. And so let's go ahead and get this week's scouting report kicked off. We'll start first with Troy. What is the stock for one Will Riley?
Oh, stock's got to be through the roof. Will Riley, he's killing in the G League. He had his career high 15 points this week. Like this is a guy who the Wizards officials are very intrigued by. Other teams around the league are intrigued by. Like, you know, I think that this is a guy who, when you talk about building on the margins, this is the exact type of player that they need, and I'm ready for them to just unleash him, and so we can see all the things that he can do. Stock's up.
All right, and Isaac?
Stock has to be up. The way he's been playing, just overall, this entire week, from having 36 points and a very efficient 36 points in 27 minutes for the go-go, and then also just playing his role and showing that he's more than just a versatile, 6'9" guard and wing. He's showing defensively that he has the chops, and he's showing that he may be the solution to the point guard troubles. Not just to brag out there, but mom's right.
Hey, Mom's right. And listen, so are you. And this might be a first, but I'm awarding points all around. That's how up I am on Will Riley, too. We're tied at 1-1 after one round. Let's move into round 2. Isaac, is a stock up or down for Kyshawn George?
Stock's a little down because during this time, I want Kyshawn to step up. He has been playing the way he started, but, I see there's hopefully a light in there, and I think it's just because of matchups and injuries that he's feeling a little uncomfortable. But so stock's a little bit down.
All right, and Troy?
I'm going to say Kyshawn George stock stays the same. he really, to me, I think that he's struggled in the first half of games, but really kind of come on late in some of these games. So that in that Hawks game where they were down like 20 points and they ended up, cutting it to, I believe, within 4 or 5. Kyshawn George is still trying to figure it out. And we have to remember that he's still a very young player, just a second year forward, who is still trying to, figure out what he can and cannot do on the basketball court. And so, I'm definitely giving him a little bit of leeway to go out there and experiment, especially on a 3-19 basketball team.
All right. Well, that's a great point on your end. So I have to award the point to Troy for that one. He's up 2-1. Let's see if Isaac can come through. Next round, Troy, is the stock up or down for Tristan Vukčević?
Man, I'm going to say stock is down. And the reason why I'm going to say the stock is down is because I know that he's playing a lot. I know that he's scoring a lot of points. But, man, like, watching him play defense is just brutal. And to me, I know that how the evaluation process works, how the Wizards are evaluating him, how other teams are evaluating. I know other teams, they watch Tristan Vukčević tape, and they're like, yo, where is he at in the action? Bring him up. Like, every time. So, to me, I think that, we know that he can score the basketball. I really have been wanting to see him improve in other areas of his game, and he just hasn't. So, I'm going to say his stock is down to me.
Defense so absent, I don't even know if he can defend against the points he just made.
Now, where is he in the pick and roll? Bring him here, like, every time.
I think is the stock up or down for Vukčević?
My stock is down. It's almost a similar case with what Troy's mentioning. His defense has been abysmal. I mean, he's scoring. He looks good offensively. If you look at the analytics, he looks great. But his defense has been bad. But there's one specific play that I was really upset with him, and that was during the Celtics game. He was bringing up the ball like a point guard when you had Will, you had Kyshawn and other places, and he caused like 2 turnovers. For me, after that, I was not. I'm like, get your butt to the block, help out. You're the biggest dude on the floor right now. Going against the Celtics, really. So yeah, I was just stock's down.
All right. Well, one of you came a little bit stronger that one, so I got to give the point that round to Troy. Let's move on to the next round. That's for Marvin Bagley III. Isaac, is the stock up or down for Marvin Bagley?
For Marvin, my guy Marvin, stock is a little down, but he's playing better overall. And the only reason why I'm saying that is, Atlanta, he did not come out offensively the way I wanted to. 6 points, 3 rebounds, not the offensive performance I was expecting out of him. He did show earlier in last week against Philly with 13 points, but it's so inconsistent with him rebounding. And you're supposed to be the big guy on this team, especially the veteran big guy. I'm not happy with him. So stock's a little down.
Interesting argument to say that the stock is down, but he's playing better. But you landed the plane there. I did see the point you were making. Troy, how about you?
I'm going to say the stock is down because this week he's not playing as good as he played last week. Last week he had 2 big games. Had a career high 5 blocks against the Sixers. He had double-digit games, and then he just kind of disappeared, in that Celtics game and in the Hawks game. So I'm going to say his stock is down, but I can definitely see why the Wizards front office brought him in. He's like the perfect placeholder, big man. He does just enough on offense and just enough on defense that if you need a guy to a serviceable player to go in there, he is that person. But his stock has to be down just because he had such a great week last week.
All right, can't argue against that. So Troy will also get the point that round. Let's move on to the final round. Troy, is the stock up or down for Bub Carrington?
Well, the stock's got to be up because I tweeted out before the game against the Hawks that when they put him into the starting lineup that he would have a big game. It wasn't that big, but it was his best game of the season. He had 14 points and 8 assists. And so, I thought that he actually looked like a point guard. And so, when your stock was on the floor, anytime you go up, it's got to be up. So, stock's up.
And Isaac?
My stock's up on Bub. I think he's finally had a game that shows that, hey, he's capable of playing the position that they want him to play. He's finally showing, he's like, hey, I'm looking like a second-year player. Hopefully, I'm saying stock's going up because hopefully he takes this as a confidence builder and says, hey, I'm still serviceable for this team. I can still find my role in this team and take that and takes that to the next game.
All right, ending with a more positive note. And for that reason, Isaac, I'll give you the point for that last round. But the total tally for this week's edition of the Scouting Report is 4-2, which means our winner, once again, is Troy Halliburton. Did you agree or disagree with these results? Please let us know by making it known in the comments section of this YouTube video or by letting us know on Instagram or X. Where, Isaac?
At Cap Hoop Caucus on X, and then also Capital Hoop Caucus on Instagram and TikTok.
Or you can also text us at 833-377-6630. That's 833-377-6630. And if you can't remember the phone number, do not worry, because in the very description of this podcast episode, there is a button that says text the show. So you can always click on that to send us a message, which is where you can also send your questions for next Wednesday's mailbag. That's right. We will be opening the mailbag. Our hosts will be answering all the questions that you send us. Well, probably not all of them, because that might take a while, but we will be answering a couple of them. And similar to the last time we opened up the mailbag, the ones that we actually answer on air, we'll be sending you a very special Capital Hoop Caucus button, one that's very exclusive to only those who send in questions to the mailbag. But that'll actually do it for us here. It's a very short, slim show this Wednesday. So for everyone at home, Troy, where can our audience get more of your work?
You can always find me on the platform formerly known as Twitter, now X, at Troy Halliburton, and you can always check out all of my writings and musings at Capital Hoop Caucus Substack.
And Isaac?
You can always find me on X at Ike Irie Ites, and then on Instagram at Isaac Ajikum Harris 224, and then as well as occasionally taking a little break with A10 Talk covering college hoops in the area.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining me for this Wednesday morning show. And thank you all at home for tuning in to this very new edition of the Capital Hoop Caucus. As I mentioned, our Saturday show is still happening, so be sure to check us out this coming Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN 630 and the ESPN 630 app. Signing off for Isaac Ajikum Harris, Troy Halliburton, and myself, Wardell McCabe. It's been another episode of the Capital Hoop Caucus. We'll see you on Saturday.